Hello and welcome. This is NTA Tuesday Live and I'm Cyril Stober. As the Buhari administration clocks 1 year in office on May the 29th, it comes with the signing of the 2016 federal budget into law, the first for the administration that is dubbed a government of change. Now, emerging from a party which described itself as a governing rather than a ruling party in a bid to align itself with the people, it raised the hopes for good governance and other expectations of Nigerians. Now, no doubt in the last 1 year, there's been a lot that's been achieved in the fight against insurgency and other forms of criminality. Now, the Nigerian armed forces have been able to recover territories earlier occupied by the insurgent Boko Haram. The fight against corruption is at an all-time high, with the arrest and prosecution of big names earlier deemed untouchable, as in the case of the multi-million-dollar arms purchase scandal. Now, the adoption of the Treasury single account has also led to the blockage of the monumental stealing of funds in the civil service, while proper audit and the IP's payroll system saved millions of naira from the payment of ghost workers. Now, in the power sector, government is still making frantic efforts to boost electricity supply, which has dropped sharply as a result of sabotage and the vandalizing of gas pipelines and other installations by hoodlums. On foreign relations, the president, on assumption of office, embarked on some foreign trips to solicit support in fighting corruption, insurgency, and also in boosting trade relations, while securing the release of the nation's stolen funds stashed abroad. Now, in the area of employment creation, the government, in liaison with the private sector, is making concerted efforts to generate the much-needed jobs to engage the teeming populace, reviving collapsed industries, boosting agricultural production for domestic consumption and export, reviving the rail transport sector, aviation, and the inland waterways are some other areas in which the administration hopes to create employment. Now, as we approach May the 29th, what are the expectations of Nigerians? How has this administration fared? Areas of the economy, health, housing, solid minerals. These are some of the issues we'll be examining on NTA Tuesday Live tonight. But first, let's get to see this report by Waziri Zayan.
And by 1955, he was one of the pioneer pupils at the Kankia School.
With integrity as the most formidable armament in his political arsenal, Muhammad Buhari made history when he came from the opposition to seize power from an incumbent 16-year PDP-led government.
A few minutes ago, sworn by the Holy Book, I intend to keep my oath and serve as president to all Nigerians.
Within a turbulent roller coaster journey 1 year after, rating of activities nationwide borders on promises made to citizens at the inauguration of the administration.
The electorates, the masses, Nigerians who voted for change might be thinking that the administration is slow.
By and large, the president continued to express dogged determination in protecting his hard-earned integrity in the areas of fighting corruption by ensuring that whoever is found wanting has been brought to book.
The near-total war situation in the northeastern part of the country, where strict adherence to rules of engagement by the troops to reduce collateral damage, is never in doubt.
They have been here for, is it 1 month or 2 months later, but they are already disturbed our life.
From all indication, the northeast situation has passed the litmus test of the much-anticipated security promise.
It has been hell for my zone for the past, for over 6 years. But in the last 1 year, we have seen a lot of changes.
On the economic front, however, there seem to be light and shadows in the analysis, with some technically saying changes seen here within the past 365 days or thereabout are not so deep enough.
It is generally established that if we're going to do an assessment of any economy or the performance of any administration, we will do it on the general basis of economics, which would be employment, growth, and price stability otherwise known for the purposes of this interview as inflation.
But the administration was quick to point out that the over 20 foreign trips embarked upon by the president in the first year are aimed at securing greater support to, among others, repatriating Nigeria's stolen funds. The resultant effect is that image of Nigeria has improved overseas, and at the moment, more nations want to do business with Nigeria. The budget brouhaha has also been described as a giant stride taken to further strengthen the economy.
When you go to the area of fighting corruption, we're experiencing something that has not been seen before in this country.
In a further bid to curb corruption, there are plans to establish 37 special courts to try offenders. The administration has approved recruitment of 10,000 additional police, while officers and men attached to politicians and dignitaries are to be redeployed to regular police duties, among others. Relationship between the executive and the law-making arm of government during the period under review has been a bit rough and tough, a situation observers describe as real democracy in action.
We have not only been cooperating, but sometimes compromising for the success of this government. And let me give you an example. This is the first time the president brought a list of ministers that was confirmed 100% full, even though we have 60-40 relationship with the opposition. And this is the first time a budget was brought, a supplementary budget, and we asked more questions and decided to even add to what Mr. President asked.
With Boko Haram technically down and almost out, other security challenges that continue to besiege the country include renewed pastoral farmers' clashes, the Biafra separatists, kidnappings and robbery, as well as vandalism of oil pipelines. Forgetting whatever controversies generated during the first year, the crux of the matter is that Nigeria is rising again. In Abuja, Wazir Zayan, NTA News.
Well, that report sets the tone for tonight's discussion. Let me introduce our guests to you. We'd like to welcome tonight Senator Ahmed Abdul Qadir, former presidential advisor, manufacturing and the private sector, a one-time chairman of the Alliance for Democracy, and also a one-time senator. Thanks for being with us here tonight.
Good to be here.
Let me also welcome Honorable Farouk Adamu Aliu, former minority leader, House of Representatives. He's a politician and a businessman, also Nigeria's ambassador plenipotentiary to Yugoslavia. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much.
We'd also like to welcome Dr. Oke Ikechukwu, Leadership and Governance Consultant and Director, Development Academy. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Also here tonight, Mr. Max Manite, a security analyst. Max, good to see you.
Good to see you.
And let me also welcome Dr. Erisa Nladi, a youth and gender advocate. Thanks for being here. Right. As usual, at the appropriate time on this program, you can get to join in the discussion in the studio. The various platforms will be on screen. We advise you to take advantage of those and be part of the discussion. However, for those who will be phoning in, and we say this every week, every Tuesday we say this, do us a favor, if you do get through on the phones, do us a favor, turn down the volume of your set. That way we'll avoid the hurlback. We also like to encourage you to go straight to the point and be brief. When you see your name on screen, it means you're on. Just go ahead and as much as possible, don't bother about all the greetings. Just go straight to the point when you're on. Thank you for being part of tonight's program. We say welcome once again to NTA Tuesday Live. Let's begin to look at the issues tonight. And let's start with you, Senator Ahmed Abdul Qadir. 1 year of the Buhari administration. How has it been?
The truth is, it's been quite rough. And obviously, the president is trying to get himself well focused, but there are turbulences here and there. But I certainly believe 1 year is not enough to make any conclusion on whether the achievables have been achieved or the achievables are not yet achieved. But the most important thing is at least the first hurdle of the national budget has been signed. So the president, in this direction, he has done his own critical part of the job. What is left now is for the ministers to go into real business of implementation of the budget.
Okay. All right, let's go on to Honorable Farouk Adamo Aliu. Yes, 1 year for a nation that's in a hurry to solve numerous challenges. How has this administration fared?
Well, I guess so far so good, because if all of us as Nigerians remember how we started, when this government came in, we remember very well how the mainstay of our economy, the crude oil, how much it was sold in the world market. And down the line, I mean, last year we were probably making about 680, 700 billion naira in a month, down to about 200, 100. You know, so under the monumental corruption that this government has come to see, the kind of lack of security in the country. I mean, if you remember very well, you and I that used to live here in Abuja, you find out that mosques, churches, stations were attacked. But now, so far, so good. At least we can sleep with our eyes closed. So, in general terms, yes, there are some hardships here and there, but they are all teething problems, which 1 year, as my brother here said, is not enough. But I'm sure as the budget is signed now, things will improve. People will see things on the ground that the government is up and about.
All right. I'll take it, Chuku.
Well, I think to talk about assessing the government, it's more like saying that this 1 year has provided for Nigerians the context within which the new government is trying to make sense of the task it inflicted upon itself. The challenges are not surprising. The slow speed, for me, not surprising too, for several reasons. Number one, the government won elections, but it's the crisis of the coalition that was the party wasn't resolved before they came to power. Even as I speak, substantial sections of that has not been resolved. Secondly, the terrain was unclear. People were saying the government should hit the ground running. Please, before you hit any ground running, find out whether it is quicksand or mud, or whether there are crocodiles on the floor. You know, so you can't hit the ground. After 16 years, you're coming into power. Most of those who made up that coalition, you had people with a very strong pro-democracy background, excellent speech makers, critics and grumblers, and who, with all due respect, had limited interface with hands-on public administration for a while, and then aggrieved members of other parties who broke out from that party. So you had what you might call genuine Democrats, alliance of the aggrieved, and an environment that's severely undermined by a culture of consumption even within the parties. And here is a man who says, I will play by the rules. And those in his team, not everyone liked that statement, not to talk of he's taking it too seriously. And we are seeing all of that playing out. Now, for somebody to look through and say, oh, with this 1 year, let's write off the government, that would be unrealistic for a simple reason. The political economy of power, the political economy of corruption, the crisis of the Nigerian state, especially the way it's been expressed in the last 16 years, is such that anybody who was unduly optimistic about the government has been given a chance within the last 1 year to come to his senses. There's work to be done. And whether you like the APC government or not, the truth of the matter is that it's going to be here for 4 years. 3 more to go, right? Even from the angle of selfish interest, as in, look, it's in the interest of all of us that we should have a viable economy, a vibrant nation, a respected government. There will be another election for people to take over. But where it will become an issue is where the fundamental pillars for social security, infrastructure and the rest of it are not seen to be managed in a coordinated manner. That will be an issue. And so we are expecting that, yes, 1 year is gone. Not surprising, it's not enough to knock the government. The speed is slow, no question about that. Interface between the arms of government, particularly the National Assembly and the executive, disastrous, but they have to resolve it. Nobody can go on casual leave on this matter. There's work to be done.
Right, Max Maniti, there's work to be done. How much work has been done in 1 year?
It depends on the sector you're looking at. We have the agricultural sector, the relationship between our international friends, the economy, security, and other issues that make up the development of a nation. But suffice it to say that a president came into power thinking that Nigerian problem can be solved with a shovel, only to discover that he needs an excavator to be able to deal with that issue. And 16 years of democracy with the previous administration have also shown that we were running a re-engineered economy, because if the economy was so good, the new administration would have had something to stand on and continue upon. Having said that, I think the president means well for the nation. He needs to, again, surround himself with people who will not be afraid of him, or who will tell him the truth. I don't know if he does have such small sector group that advises him based on what is on ground. Security-wise, I want to say that the degrading of terrorism actually did not start now. It started when the election was suspended, and it has continued. The difference today is that the new leadership in the military have taken the fight directly to the terrorists, and we are winning grounds. But it's not over, because the terrorist does what we call assimilation. There are still pockets of shaheeds, which is the suicide bombing coming in, and we need to tame it. But the greater danger to the nation is those that pretend to be pastorals and are really causing problem in various communities. And I say they pretend because if you look at the way Boko Haram did its interface ab initio, they tried to create a religious war. It didn't work. When they were attacking Christian churches, then they moved to attacking mosques. That didn't work. And then if you remember between November 2014 and early 2015, some vehicles were intercepted moving southwardly, and the security agencies thought that some of them were elements of Boko Haram, and we shoved it on the rug. Then after they moved in, there was a greater rustling of cattle in the north, and those cattle ended up going southwardly. So what we are seeing now in fighting in communities may as well be another faction of terrorist activities trying to start an ethnic war in Nigeria. So we have to be able to think out of the box. Having said that, I think it's also well for the government to insist that 10,000 policemen be added to what we have today. And the greatest achievement for me in this 1 year is the way the president handled the budget. He didn't rush to accept what the previous administration had put in place, and he insisted that it needs to be sanitized. And we had patience, and now we have a budget, and like Senator Abdulkari have said, it is now up to the ministers to hit the ground and up and running. But having said that, we need to again rebuild friends internationally, and that is why I'm excited on the move to China. We can't depend on the West. The West will always let us down, and China is coming in, but we also have to look at China and know that they are really coming in to partner with us and not to take advantage of us. So 1 year, as Dr. Ikechukwu have said, is not enough. And those of us who come from American background are programmed to think on 4-year term. When Obama came into US, the economy was in shambles, and he tried to rescue the economy. The results were seen 3.5 years after, and that was why he got re-elected. So Nigerians must learn to be patient, and those who voted for the president and begin to say now that he's too slow is tantamount to voter malpractice, and we should not allow that to happen. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So much to take away from what you said, but let's hear the impressions of Dr. Anladi.
Yes, we have a new captain, we have a new crew. Nigeria is the aircraft. We have to follow due process. You just don't fly. You have to Texas first, get the plane starting. It's what is keeping us. He is a very popular person, and that, for me, I feel taxing is making it a little bit easy because he had the support from the beginning. So, and then we have to take off. Taking off is something that feels is slow, but we have to do it gradual because, like Senator just said, it's actually bumpy. You don't have to just fly without the commands. So it's a process that needs to be patiently waiting. But for the past 1 year, I feel seriously it's not enough for us to say we're going to evaluate this new government, but looking at the process of following the due process, there's always a process to follow. You have to start somewhere. He came, like he said, he thought it was a shovel, but now he needs an excavator to do that. So I feel it's about time we look critically, now that we have taken off with the signing of the budget. A lot of the normal or common Nigerian is expectant. We're all expectant. We had the social contract. We're looking up to him to say, what have you done? Okay, now we've given you 1 year. What have you done, or what are you willing to do for us? So I feel there is still more to be said and done for this administration. In the next 3 years, inshallah, we'll have that.
All right, so let's begin to look at some specifics now. And let's start off with one of the biggest issues when this administration came into power, which was the insurgency and criminality. Yes, the armed forces were put to the test, and many Nigerians have said there was renewed zeal and vigor, and they've been able to reclaim lost territories, decimate the insurgents. But in the middle of all this, there's been surging criminality of other forms, which were serious challenges on this nation, Senator Abdul Qadir.
Yes. Whether we like it or not, the truth is the military have done substantially well in tackling the insurgency in the last 6-8 months. But the issue of other criminalities like the kidnapping and robbery are issues that have been there before. But it's just that we need to now refocus in terms of looking at who are those criminals. What can it be put in place to make sure that these people are checked, and once and for all, these things is nipped in the bud? Obviously, we need some firm laws in the various states where these things are. Just for the state assembly to pass a law that this kidnapping will earn 10 years as a punishment, to me, it's not enough. Wherever you have this criminality of kidnapping or vandalization of the pipelines, these are issues that should earn capital punishments. And I think if we don't tell ourselves the home truth, sorry to talk about human rights and what have you, we need to know who we are and what do we want. We cannot be running and trying to think there are issues that we need to change our shoes midway. No, if you want to run all the way. You have no time to change your shoes midway. Otherwise, those behind you will pass. That is where we're having issues with the criminalities of the vandalization, robbery, and kidnapping. It must be tackled seriously.
All right. Some would like to say that the gains from putting down the insurgents have been threatened by the issues of gas pipeline vandalism that we see now, the conflicts raging between pastoralists and farmers, kidnapping, as he mentioned, and so many others. And these are actually detracting from the successes of the barefaced insurgents, as we know them. What's happening?
Let me just quickly respond to two things. One, Whether the president underestimated the problems of this country. No, at all not. I mean, so he knew that the problems were so much that I remember very well during his campaigns, he used to say that Nigerians will think that by the day he comes in, probably the next week, all problems will be solved. I assure you that the president is aware of the monumental problems. And let me also tell you, there are a lot of people around the president who don't fear the president. There are a lot of people around the president who tell him what it is, the right thing, and he takes advice from a lot of people. Now, coming to the issues. You see, the biggest problem we're having now, I think, are sabotage, certainly. The Boko Haram issue, it's gradually, melting down. Now, all of a sudden, we hear of Niger Delta Avengers. We hear of the pastoralists or the herdsmen, whom before most of us were born, I mean, these people used to travel from Maiduguri down to southern part of the country without problems. All of a sudden now the problems are coming on. Pipelines are being vandalized, kidnappings in northern part of the country as well. So you find out that there are some people who certainly do not want us as a nation to succeed. And we have no other country but here. So I mean, if all of us look at it as the problem of APC or the president, then we're mistaken. It is our own problem. All of us have to make sure we supervise ourselves. We have to make sure that everybody does his or her own part. Look, what do you gain if you go and vandalize a pipeline? The most unfortunate part of it is that if you are from Niger Delta, you vandalize the pipeline, the first immediate problem will be in your area. That's it. And then your brothers and sisters upcountry might not have electricity. So you find out that, look, there needs to be education. And the problem is us, the elites of this country, because the elite in Bayelsa and the one from Jigawa, where I come from, are one and the same. And the poor people of both parts of this country are all one and the same. So if we, the elites of this country, come together, don't look at things, along religious lines or political, that, look, we have a problem at hand. What do we do? This is the only country that no matter how rich you are, you could be inconvenienced. This is the only country that as elites, you don't find a hospital that you can go and get treated. This is the only country that things do not work. This is the only country that no electricity, no water, and then we say government, government, government. What have you and I, what have we done to ensure these things are right? This is the only country that people sit down to share money, and then they are celebrating in our societies. So you find out that we all have to reorientate ourselves to ensure that, look, people are checked, those in government or the elites, and so that we could have a country that will belong to all of us. Leadership that is not leader for the north or the south. So I think it's all collectively our responsibility to ensure we educate our citizens for good governance and so on and so forth.
Well, Boko Haram, kidnapping, and the rest of it. To speak of success or lack of it, you must have indices for measurement. Sorry, excuse me. What is it you measure? Number of attacks, extent of damage, demographics of those who lost their lives, and the impact on the environment. Without prejudice to the fact that the military has actually substantially undermined the location and base of the insurgents. The truth is that we've had more attacks in the last 1 year, with greater frequency, with more casualty figures, and also we are seeing also the fallout of earlier crises. I will touch on two things. If a soldier, if a military is focusing on a target, the concept of substantial compliance doesn't exist. This target will be brought down. If it's not down, it's not down. So when the language of, what do you call it?
Rule of engagement?
No, not rule of engagement. When the language of degrading came into the conversation, I knew we were in trouble. The degrading. You've degraded it, all right, but how do you measure its impact? It's not killing people, it's not spreading, it's not undermining, but all the things for which it was known has moved up. So it's recorded greater success as a disorganized, asymmetrical group. That's one. Two, the matter of kidnappings and increase in crime, there's no mystery about it. The local economies in the Northwest are gone. There were people who earned a living, maintained large families, extended families just on sugarcane. Where are those sugarcane farms? There are those who were just harvesting date palms. So let's note that a substantial part of the country, the local economies that function without recourse to the national budget, without recourse to the elite pranks and politics, they are all gone, but the people are not gone, they are alive. And one unfortunate element of being alive is that you cannot but eat. Even those who quote the Bible and tell you, man shall not live by bread alone, I ask them, have you seen a verse which says that you should try to do without it altogether? So where are we leading with all of this? You then see the link. Boko Haram insurgency, collapse of local economies, a lot of able-bodied people who have no means of livelihood that is legitimate, an increasing population of helpless, uneducated people, and therefore a spread to areas for survival. Now, tying all that up with the herdsmen issue, let's also be real. Why is it? Is it today that we began to have cows in Nigeria? Certainly not. The ecology of the herdsman's crisis. There were grazing reserves in the north, not in the south. But that's also because the savanna existed. And so you had sections where you could go. It's known, it existed. But cow doesn't feed on stone and gravel, which is what you have in many of those reserves now. And the logic is also easy to see. We've dammed so many rivers in the country that what you have are dry beds as we speak, and this is the rainy season. If you want to prove that, travel by road from Kano to the south. Rivers that had an expanse of sometimes 300 meters reduced to 20 meters in the peak of the dry season. So you drive across a bridge, the bridge is about 2 kilometers, and the water under it is 10 meters. So now, opportunities for grazing in the north have declined conspicuously and consistently. Even if you go far, go to the Chad, Lake Chad has lost 90% of its area. So that crisis exists. Now the solution is not to come into my farm and eat up my cassava and yam. It isn't. Ranching exists. And that's why government must move us, all of us, to a new perception of how we can manage ourselves. All right. In that regard.
Well, at this point, the phone lines are open. We'll try to take a first call tonight, and we'll return to certain issues that Dr. Ikechukwu has raised here. But let's try to get through to Abubakar, who's calling in from Kano. Hello, Abubakar.
Yes, hello.
Hello, Abubakar.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Hello? Hello?
Go ahead.
Hello? Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, go ahead.
Good afternoon. Good evening.
Good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, Abubakar. Go ahead.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Again, let's just remind those who are phoning in that as soon as your name appears, when that call is taken, at the time we're coming to you, we'll put your name across on the screen that you're on. And once you can see that, you just go ahead. Okay? One or two things I might like to quickly return to is Dr. Ikechukwu. Well, you've painted a picture of what's led to the situation now. Is that the same thing that's led to renewed calls for secession?
Yes and no. Somebody who is gainfully employed and who finds that the environment in which he is protects him as a person, protects his interest, he has no incentive for mischief. So if you look at the color, character, class, education, income level of those most active in the call for secession, you will discover that substantially is a denial, want, and also ignorance. because all of that challenge is mixed. I want to come and take over the NTA, and I'm armed with a catapult, and I'm trekking from Gwagwalada. Naturally, I'll pass out before I even get to Lube. And it doesn't, I don't have the sophistication to realize that. It shows that I need more help than the NTA I'm trying to help. What am I saying with all of that? The calls for secession are rooted in unresolved issues of social security. It's as simple as that. Imagine that you have substantial enrollment in schools, substantial retention in schools, and then availability of jobs after school. Look at the age bracket of those involved. 1 million and something people will write JAMB. At the end of the year, 150 gets admitted. Let's even assume it's 450. The rest are not going to any vocational training. They have nothing, but they're alive, and they're the most physically active among the young. And there's no elite culture of mentoring, whereby people are being groomed as the replacement generation. They're left on their own. We've evolved an elite culture that focuses first on itself as a group in power, and then progressively, the expansion of that conception of self-protection to the immediate nuclear family, and in some rare cases, to members of the extended family. Take our experience of the last 16 years and ask yourselves, those who have been dominant in the political space, how many lives have they impacted beyond what we see in the media, the fact that they're in office and the rest of it? Meanwhile, this would have been the pull, the magnet, drawing and creating a new replacement generation on values.
Mr. Cyril, I don't know.
All right. Okay, just a moment. Let's see if we can take this. Emmanuel is calling in from Lagos. Do we have Emmanuel on the line? Okay, Emmanuel. Emmanuel from Lagos, go ahead.
Yes, I'm on. Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, and the lady.
Yes, good evening.
Can you hear me? Yes, I want to say something. Thank you very much for that panel. At this point, I don't envy the president, though I don't exonerate him. You see, when the president came in, he gave us specific. This time I will do this. This time I will do that. We know there is a problem in Nigeria. Let us take one after the other. Look at what is happening now. The previous government or the previous opposition, they were deceiving Nigerians that we don't need subsidy. We know that in running this country, this economy, such things cannot work. But we were deceiving people. What is happening today? Today, we are going back to subsidy. Until all of us agree that Nigeria first, we cannot go anywhere. Look at what is happening in the Niger Delta. Encourage them. Let us ask, has Somalia solved their problems? Colombia, all these countries where insurgency has been existing for years. Somebody say go and kill them. How can you say go and kill your countrymen? Call them and sit down and let us discuss. Let us move as a nation. Not because I am from the north, I'm from the south, I'm from the sea, I will crush them. How can you say you crush your people? Now people are dodging away from the pruning of herdsmen. They are going around killing people, destroying crops. Nobody is saying let us crush them. Then let us crush the Niger Delta people. Let us crush the Biafra. Why are we not crushing the herdsmen until we tell ourselves the truth? The Nigerian government does not strive on deceit, on propaganda. Propaganda only works in a period of war.
All right, well, we lost that call there, but at least he got in a few things there, which, yes, you were going to
I just wanted to,
right.
You spoke about secession. You asked,
yes,
my brother here about secession. I think there's only a group of people, only one section of the country is talking about secession. And the social ills he's talking about, it's everywhere. It's our common problem. It affects Borno people, it affects Bayelsa, it affects everywhere. So I don't think that is the immediate problem of secession. Niger Delta, their agitation is resource control. So you find out that if we zero secession to social ills, I don't think that's the right thing. And then let's also talk about grazing. Yes, today I was in Katsina. The Minister of Agric spoke about grazing areas. You find out that, look, when he spoke about bringing in seeds of grass seeds, people were seeing it as a joke. But look, if we do not have these grazing areas where the herdsmen would graze their animals, of course there could be problems. Because within the last 30 years in this country, the population has grown so much that, and the land is reducing, the people are growing, the cows are also growing. So I think what the government is trying to do, the Minister of Agriculture has said that, look, the government is going to ensure that there will be ranching. And I think Nigerian populace should allow this government to try and ranch these animals so that they will not go anywhere to cause havoc.
All right, let's get across to Abba, and Victor is in Abba calling in. Hello, Victor.
Good evening. Good evening, all of you there.
Yeah, good evening.
Calling from Abba, Ramado. This administration of our dear President Buhari, before he came into power, we had high expectations. I am one of the Igbo men that supported Buhari, and in fact, I voted for him. In my community, everybody was asking why APC. I said, I want this man to come and be the president, because the last administration had some flaws. But to be honest with you, most of us are disappointed. We are disappointed in this administration in the sense that it is too slow. Not only that it's too slow, the propaganda, the way the things are being done, especially the things that are coming up from the minister, especially the Minister of Information, most of us are taken aback. Things ought to be put straight to Nigerians. Just like one of the speakers there said, people have died more in the Boko Haram attack now than even the previous year. People that have lost their lives in the Boko Haram attack in the northeast, it is even more greater in this particular year, in the past 1 year, than what has happened previously. And not only that, the issue of the separatists, the Biafran separatists, our concern is that when people protest in any country, the soldiers don't turn their gun against their own people. When a soldier is tackling his own people, it is something that it is incomprehensible. One cannot understand why a soldier who is there to protect you use a live bullet on protesters. Protesters are not meant to be killed with live bullets. Rather, there's a way of defending or managing protest. In the developed world, we see it. There's cannon, there are water cannons, rubber bullets, and other things we used to tell these people. It makes them to feel belong, that this is their country. But when you turn your gun against them and keep protesters, they feel that they are not part of this country. And then it will rise more. It will rise more. You will think that you have subdued the issue of the separatists. You have not. They will continue. It is like a time bomb. But there's a way you confront these people, call them to dialogue, know what is their problem, know why they are agitating for separatists, try to for secession, try to solve those problems. I think we'll have a better country called Nigeria. The issue of the Fulani herdsman, I wonder some of us grew up in this country. We grew up in this country. We have seen cows all over the place. They have come to our villages. They have grazed. No, we have not seen such clashes. This is a Boko Haram in another form, attacking people, killing people. And the government is silent on that. We are not happy. The government should come out, make a statement on this issue of herdsman and tackle it headlong so that there will be peace in this country. Finally, I want to say, this country belongs to all of us. What is good for the equally good for the agenda. To take it for example, the issue that is disturbing most Nigerians is the economy. Our economy, the issue of corruption being tackled by the president. We all are happy the way the president is tackling corruption, the issue of corruption. But another point I want to say that most people feel that it is a selection. The people of APC are not being hunted that. The people of PDP are being hunted that. We want a holistic approach of fighting corruption. Whoever is involved. We see the issue of Saraki, who is the president. Most people have argued that he came from the PDP to APC. We want to see a holistic approach to fight of corruption. All of us, we will support the government to tackle the corruption issue headlong. Yes, that is our own position on that. Finally,
finally, right?
Second finally.
Our president, General Muhammad Buhari, we want him to succeed. Every Nigerian wants the man to succeed because his success is Nigerian success. Nobody wants him to fail. And on that premises, we are telling him that any promises they made to Nigerians, they should fulfill it. Okay. The president said before he came into power that he will make his asset declaration public. Up to now, most of us are still wondering whether that asset has been declared public or not. People should assess what the president has. People should know that people should be sincere and believe that the president is sincere. And all of us will follow him.
Okay.
We want to follow him. I am a supporter of their president. I voted for him. In fact, when he came to Owerri, 2011, I was there to receive him.
All right.
Of course, want him to succeed.
Okay, Victor.
But if the country, if understand that some people start feeling that they're not part of this country,
all right,
it will rise the issue of secession, the issue of agitation to have a separate country of Biafra or even other states will continue to rise up.
Okay,
so
fine.
What we are talking about, justice will solve this problem, peace will solve this problem, so that everybody will feel belong in a country called Nigeria. Thank you and God.
Right, thank you very much, Victor. But certain things you raised, and I'm sure that I guess here will quickly correct those impressions because they do have information.
Yeah, the president has declared his assets publicly.
Right.
It's there. Everybody, he can go online and find it.
Ideology.
It's there.
An ideology cannot be crushed with force. You must introduce superior narrative to change an ideology. Boko Haram is an ideology. And to be able to subdue Boko Haram, even after taking all grounds, GIBWIS, GNI, Supreme Council of Islamic Affairs must get together and agree that the narrative being used to recruit new insurgents are the wrong narratives. That nobody goes to paradise as a suicide bomber. That is a wrong narrative. And we begin to preach this in various mosques and begin to change the way our children view the religion for us to be able to degrade the psychological activity of a Boko Haram.
All right.
IPOB, in this case, is also a narrative. They feel cheated that every other zone has 6 states. The Southeast has 5. I don't speak for them. I have a bullet wound from the Civil War as a child soldier. So I am more Biafran than the new generation Biafranists. Having said that, they also feel that there is an injustice in local government allocation. But all these things were able to happen under a military regime because it was done under a fiat. You cannot change it in a democratic setting without proper negotiation. Therefore, you must introduce ideology to be able to subdue that narrative. But having said that, then you look at what Dr. Kichku had mentioned. Unemployment. The police wants to recruit 10,000, 900,000 applied. The 900,000 that apply are not warriors. The intention is just to get gainful employment. They are not interested really in police work. The military advertises for DSS, Direct Short Service, a position of 1,000. You have 500,000 applying. They are not warriors. They just want to have a job. So what is the cure to that? Your power sector. When the power sector is put in perspective order, then private sector will thrive. He, a distinguished senator, A.A. Abdukari, was in charge of an advisor in manufacturing. And they kept saying, you must be able to have proper power generation for the private sector to create wealth and jobs for the teeming masses. The absence of that creates a cluster of teenagers with high-level testosterone that leads to kidnapping, leads to armed robbery, and other vices that you cannot control. So let's be honest about it. Look, we cannot sweep this issue I know we don't want to use the word Fulani headsman, but that's what it is. Fulani headsman is not an Igbo headsman. So we cannot sweep it under the door. I have advocated that the leadership of the Igbo, like the Ohaneze, should go and meet their counterparts in the north, ACF, NEF, and ask salient questions. Why, on any little provocation, you kill me in the north? Now you are in the south killing me. Don't you want us to be part of Nigeria? Then the 5 governors in the southeast should also meet with northern governors and sit down and discuss this. For Honorable Farouk to talk about generalizing the grazing, 1963 Grazing Act did not touch the South. And that was why M.I. Opara, as the governor of the Southeast then, decided that every cattle that comes to the Southeast should come by train. And there were 2 drops, one in Gariki, Okunano, Enugu, and that Gariki market feeds Ebonyi, present-day Enugu and Anambra State. Then the second one is Umuahia. Umuahia feeds Abia State, River State, and all the South-South. Then he established the Obudu Cattle Ranch with the intention of having 1 million cattle in Obudu. And the short route should be through Adamawa to Obudu, and then they can do what cross-fertilization and cross-breeding of cattle to minimize this idea of farmers and cattle rearers fighting. Where we got it wrong, we have more dams in the north. Why are we not replenishing the grasses that these cattle are devouring daily? So the issue of ranching, federal government can only persuade people to come in and be partners in ranching, because cattle rearing is a business and is privately owned, though cattle is strategic, the same way farming is strategic. So what can federal government do to solve this problem? Federal government can come and say, look, any community in Nigeria that is interested, we are going to establish ranch in that community that will have a minimum of 50, 100,000 cattle. That Fulani young boy at 4, 5 that is put in the bush has a right to be a senator. He has a right to be a medical doctor. Nobody is talking about him going to school. That's against United Nations law. So in that ranch, those who are learning animal husbandry in the university can come to that ranch and do their study. You can control the disease that may afflict cattle. And then you can now give the cattle an opportunity to have 4, 3, or 6 calves in a year, as against wandering. It's a security risk. Today, you see cattle wandering within the villa. Somebody who wants to cause problem can pretend to be a cattleman and cause problem in the villa. So if we don't nip this in the bud, it potentiates a much greater danger than Boko Haram is. Then number 2, the Hezbollah. Hezbollah is the Islamic movement of Nigeria in Zaria. We must caution Iran in its intrusion into Nigerian affairs. Those people in Zaria constitute a great danger to the country, and not only in the north. You don't take over federal government property like a road and block it because there is a religious procession. When you want to demonstrate, according to Victor, you go and seek for police permit. Those IPOP people that blocked River Niger were wrong. Niger Bridge belongs to federal government. And you created gridlock miles away after Onitsha and backing up to Ore. It's wrong because you do not block federal government roads. And therefore, federal government constitutes the right to fire upon you. If you want to have a peaceful demonstration, you go to the police and tell them, we want to have a peaceful demonstration, and then they will guide you to where the demonstration starts and where it ends. Let us not fool ourselves.
Okay, we'll return to the phones. I think we have another caller. Chris from Lagos. Chris. Hello, Chris. Hello, Chris. Go ahead.
Yes, good evening, everybody there.
Yeah, good evening.
Hello, I can hear you. Good evening, everybody.
Yes, good evening. Go ahead.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, Chris from Lagos. I appreciate what all of you are doing there. I want to kind of give an advice to dear President. Our President should appreciate the fact that every Nigerian, including goats, fowl, and iPad, almost all the animals voted for him.
Those are Nigerians.
Yes, go ahead, Chris.
He should open his eyes very well and know that the enemies are around him. Every Igbo man loves him. Every Yoruba man loves him. Every Hausa man loves him. And the problem that is facing us in Nigeria today is as a result of the fight that he is facing squarely, the issue of corruption.
Okay.
Now, the problem that we're having in the southeast, in the south, and all that resource control and so on and so forth, let him understand that most people that are doing this thing sometimes might not be the so-called Fulani health.
Well, Chris, your pauses are getting too long, and we might just have to cut it from you.
Hello?
Yes.
Are you there?
All right.
Okay. Let me quickly say that the president should please, as a matter of urgency, do not fight the problem in Nigeria with force. Let him use his wisdom. Call any man or any woman or region or whatever that is trying to act for one thing or the other, sit them down and ask them what the problems are. I believe that he has all the wisdom to handle them very well.
All right. Okay. All right, Chris, thank you very much. Yes, you've been able to put in that advice you say to the president. So thank you so much. And for others who would be calling, let's just say to them, just go straight to the point, and please avoid as much as possible these long pauses, because when you pause for such a long while, we'll automatically assume that you're done with making your contribution. Again, we'd like to encourage those who are calling in to go straight to the point and avoid these long pauses. Right, you're still on to NTA Tuesday Live. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll continue to look at other aspects of the first year of the Buhari administration. Stay with us. We'll be right.
Nigerians, our fearless officers and men of the Nigerian military are winning the war against Boko Haram. Today, all occupied territories have been recovered, and Boko Haram has been degraded. Our affected brothers and sisters are getting their lives back. However, they are now after you and me. In our mosques, churches, schools, motor parks, markets, entertainment centers, and public gatherings. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me. Nigeria, unite against terrorism.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
The struggle for independence had been a long and tough one. Our founding fathers and compatriots sacrificed their comfort and even shed their blood. We cannot at this point in history afford to spirit away their sacrifices for immediate but temporary gains of today. Let us emphasize what unites and not what divides us. Working for the unity of purpose with a stronger vision for a better tomorrow. NTA, growing with the nation.
Nigeria, the only country we can train with remarkable potentials to excel. Let us believe in ourselves and change our attitude for the sake of our country and generations unborn. Let us revive our cultural values, which are our essence as a nation. Let us renew the spirit of patriotism and hope in our dear country. Do not take or give bribe. Be punctual always. No more African time. We can't expect to be global citizens and operate on African time. Join the queue. Insist that people are attended to on a first-come basis, no matter who they are or where they come from.
Nigeria, good people, great nation.
Make you report any crooked person, object or wakajube movement to police and security agent demo.
The security of our nation now work for all of us, plus including me and you.
Nigeria, make we unite against terrorism. Now, Federal Minister of Information and Culture bring on this message.
NTA Tuesday Live, a network issue-oriented innovation talk show.
Right, thanks for staying with us. We're looking at 1 year of the Buhari administration and assessing it and charting a possible way forward. So let's come to you. We had calls coming through, and one of them actually said, this administration is too slow. Is this administration too slow in tackling these numerous issues that we have, looking at the insurgency, criminality, and so many other things that are also impacting on the economy? Because we'll go to the economy in a moment now.
The president have a larger picture, and we have our individual pictures we're expecting him to fulfill. So looking at it generally, being slow is relative. Like we gave the illustration of the plane. You just don't fly. You just don't cruise. You need to taxi, and then you get to where you're supposed to. You get to get to where you're supposed to. You just don't start it and get it done. You need to. It's a process, like we said. So for the insurgents, we have a lot. Personally, I feel it's the basis is education. From the beginning, from the onset, these insurgents we're talking about, the militants we're talking about, are young people. If from the beginning we are educated to know that we're Nigerians, we owe ourselves the mandate to stand out for ourselves as brothers, and we know the rights that governs us, then you find out that we have less of this. And then when we're given the enabling environment to also strive hard to give in our best and to know we're part of the process, you would find out that we will do better. We have the smaller picture. When we come together, we make the big picture. It is not about being slow. It's about from us too. He has what he is expecting. We have what we're expecting from him. So have we done our own path? We ask ourselves for us to be able to, a lot of accusation, criticism, but we look inward. Have we tried to do our own part from where we're coming from? And then looking at the president, of course, he needs to also balance our picture with his picture. He has the larger Nigeria. We have the bit of what is troubling us from our patches of states. So how can he bring all this to bear and give us a meaningful Nigeria? The expectations are high, of course, and maybe that's why we're seeing it slow. Because we're just starting, and then we expect, because he's someone, is a personality, and is someone that everybody is looking up to do a lot. at the same time, forgetting that he's a human being first of all, like any other, and he needs to strategize. He's not going to be a captain all to himself. He needs the crew to get their inputs. So for me, I feel the president is on course, because signing the budget, I feel, is a very big achievement for us to see now. How do we implement this? The expectations are still going. How do we want it to be done? The ministers, what is their role? What are they supposed to do? And another thing very important I think we should also give to the president is to have a very strong mechanism to give back to us, because we're expecting a lot. We need to see transparency. We need the corruption to come to the level that we can also identify with. So can we have a strong monitoring evaluation kind of from him, so that we will be carried along as citizens of Nigeria? We need to know what is happening at every step. That is why we're not very patient to wait, because sometimes we don't understand this process, but we need to wait. We need to be patient for this process to come to bear. It won't just happen in a day. We need to have time, but we also need to be carried along. When you're carried along on something, you won't see the time being wasted, because you know at every step this is where you are. So we are expecting a lot of transparency, a lot of carrying the masses along, and to also be part of this process. I feel governance is about the people. So we also need to give our own quota of this process to the government. So what are we also doing from our own part? We shouldn't just sit down to complain that it's slow. Then what do we give? How do we make the process smooth? How do we help support this administration to move forward in the next coming years? What do we do?
All right. Let's look at another very challenging aspect, and a number of those who have expressed opinions here have referred to it, that the economy, there's still so much work to be done. And perhaps a few of the things that Dr. Ikechukwu mentioned in his presentation had to do with the economy itself, if you have so many people out there. So in this last 1 year, have we seen a direction in which the economy is going, and what direction would we say it is going in?
In the last 1 year, the economy is trying to get to a point where we will start looking inwards, but we're not there yet. Because let's assume with the budget of the 6 trillion, definitely it will be a hell lot of achievement for the government to implement 50% of it before the end of the year, which is about 3 trillion. But out of this 3 trillion that we intend to spend maybe in the next 6-7 months, how much will be spent inwards? That's within the local industries, salaries and what have you. The most thing I envisage is most of this will end up in purchases of vehicles, a lot of items that will end up being imported. And that is a very, very serious minus into this country. But how does that happen? If you look at all the government tenders, they give you specs of all the vehicles they want to import or they want to buy. In all the specs of the vehicle they're intended to buy, you find that none is produced locally. And for any contractor that is interested, is not interested in what's local. He's interested in what can he make. Yeah. He will give that quotation based on what is imported or what he's going to import, not thinking of what is produced locally. So I think there's the need for us to insist there's a legislation for made in Nigeria goods, so that unless these items are not available and certified that they are not available, before we can start thinking of import. Otherwise, whatever we're having, whatever we're budgeting for foreign countries. And that is very sad. So that alone is what is taking the jobs away from us. Because the government, as it is, has no place to create employment. The private sector are those who are supposed to employ, but they are not making anything out of the budget. So that is where they're sending back the masses out to the government to now think of how do you handle the security issue. You help us with the purchase of whatever we produce, and then we employ what are supposed to be security risk in the streets. That is the whole thing.
You know, it tends to present a scenario here that which is it? If you do not have an economy that's thriving, then you have all these things we've been talking about. And which do you now, which do you address first? Which comes first, the chicken or the egg?
Well, they are both of interest, both either the chicken and the egg. But the most important thing in every economy is to look at what do we produce and do we have the capacity? If we don't have the capacity, how do we develop the capacity to make sure that we are self-sufficient, whether it's in the agricultural sector or in the manufacturing sector? These are key to every economy.
All right, Honorable.
Yes, thank you. I'll just quickly make a small response, then we come to the economy. My brother, the security consultant, spoke about Jibwis, JNI. That's the the religious groups need to teach people to learn in mosques that people will not to go to heaven by committing suicide. There is not a single mosque in Nigeria, not one. Probably mosques by Boko Haram, but there is no mosque that preaches go and commit suicide and go to heaven. Definitely not in this country. Now, back to the economy. In this country, unfortunately, the successive government of 16 years before last year, did not save. We did not think of 10, 15, 20 years ahead when we had so much money that was coming when the crude oil was selling for over $100. The monies were shared by the states and the federal. So nothing was kept for the rainy day, and the rainy day is here. And you find out that all of us have tremendous appetite for foreign goods. When the money was there, all people opening LCs had monies, had backing. So which means the money was there. And now you cannot have these monies because the sources of revenue have dried up, which means necessity is the mother of invention. As Nigerians, we must. In fact, we have no choice but to start patronizing made in Nigeria products. Like there is Innocent, who produces vehicles in this country. My colleagues in the National Assembly went to buy Prado. I mean, it's really obscene and it's unnecessary. My brothers in the National Assembly should start riding on Innocent vehicles. These are vehicles made in Nigeria. And the imported rice also. If you don't go to Abakalaki to buy rice, you should go and eat grass. I'm telling you, the central bank or this government should stop issuing foreign exchange for importation of rice. These kind of things. We have to start by feeding ourselves, by looking inwards, start from everything made in Nigeria, so that look, when we build up our reserves, then we can start buying aircrafts and what have you. But for now, we should look inwards, we should patronize our people, we should ensure that anybody producing things in Nigeria, because that's the only way. If somebody produces pasta that tastes like chocolate, buy it. Tomorrow he might probably make the pasta just like made in Brazil or made in Italy. But if we don't patronize them and say they are not good, then we'll never have good products. We say things are made in Aba. You don't buy made in Aba. What you don't produce, you go and buy made in China and so on. Which, so honestly, as a people, we have to start thinking inwards and ensure. And also the government should also make sure that anybody looking for foreign exchange to buy anything that is produced in this country is not given that opportunity.
Sorry, I just want to make a little correction for my younger brother on the issue of savings. But to be honest, I don't want to speak for the previous government, but just to get the record straight, that in the past there has been what is called excess crude account. And in that excess crude account, there is so much money. But governorship in this country, when you're a governor, you're like in a cult. Whether you're from the APC or you're from the PDP, you all go and do the wrong thing together. And this thing in the excess crude account, to be honest, was headed by Amechi. They've gone to court. There's nothing they've not done with the government until when they exhausted all the money, shared within themselves at the governors, whether they're from the PDP or from the APC. They shared the money, and that's how they wreck it, unfortunately. And secondly, the issue of the rice import. Yes, rice is on the 41 list banned by the central bank for access to foreign exchange, which is a very good omen. So that he should know.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I take exception of calling Amechi's name here. Well, really. Because, I mean, look, when we talk about savings, I'm talking about from last year to now. Where are the savings? When this government came, yes, in the last 16 years,
yes.
When this government came in, how much money was there in the excess school account? How much money was there?
The most important thing.
The money was gone.
Amechi was the
and we
chairman
have
of the
seen
governance forum.
we have seen where the monies have gone
And he
now.
was the one who
When
went
you
public.
go to one person's house now and get millions of dollars stashed away. So these are where the monies have gone to.
As I said, I'm not talking for any of the political
if we
parties.
look at this past 1 year, have we seen a direction in which the economy is being steered towards?
Not that I can see. Maybe others can. And there's even the further question of whether indeed there is still an economy. But that's probably at the level of mischief. What appears to be emerging is a progressive democratization of poverty, not intended, but on account of the circumstance in which we find ourselves. And let's just take one or two examples. Replacement cost of goods. I could use $50,000 to go and buy things, or to procure what I'll use to manufacture things locally. These are parts I must replace in my machine, and my factory is here, so I'm a made in Nigeria champion. Now the value of $50,000 used to be, okay, let's even come down to the one that I remember. The value of $10,000 as at the time I was buying it was 150,000 naira. Now, instead of 150,000, I spent 320. Meanwhile, my working capital is X amount. So to go to the market and come back, I now can only buy half of the parts I would ordinarily have bought. What happens? Capacity utilization will drop by 50%. That's likely eventually to affect employment. It will affect my output, etc. In addition to that, I happen to be one of those who was reckless enough or comfortable enough to send my children abroad for studies. So it's time to pay school fees. I'll convert it by the old rate. That's about maybe 3 million naira. By the new rate, I'm now paying nearly 7. So you see that on all fronts, I'm constrained to spend more and not even getting the value of the original product. So at the level of service delivery, there's decline. At the level of capacity utilization, there's decline. At the level of replacement, your replacement cost for anything you're doing has doubled. And the net effect is that unemployment follows from it. Now, I'm all for made in Nigerian goods, but not as a sermon. Economics does not understand preachment. If you take money, pick up a few charcoals from the devil's own hellfire while he's not looking, and bury it there, and somebody knows that if he can access that charcoal, they will go looking for it. That's why at the peak of the crisis of governance in Nigeria, when everybody was saying Abacha was terrible, massive investments were moving in for those who saw they could make money, while their countries were the ones saying this is a terrible place. Where am I leading to with all of this? The fact that I want made in Nigeria goods is not enough reason to violate my own personal taste. The fact that I want made in Nigeria goods is not the reason why I will replace preachment with the need for government to first get policy, give incentives, sustain it, possibly intervene in the market. Why would a country like the US destroy millions of tons of apple? There's nothing wrong with it. I just want to maintain the price. The same for rice. You know about all of that. Why would I produce cassava and carry it around? Once I brought it out of the ground, chances are that it will decay. So I carry it around until it decays because nobody came to buy it off me. Meanwhile, government can do that. Now, those are the issues. What are the policies? What are the incentives? What are the buffers? None that I can see is being structured. Unfortunately, in place of these steps, people try to create a theoretical thesis about doing well, whereas the narrative should be quite simple and frank. These are the things we are doing. This is how we are doing it. This is how it's working. And get third parties to say so.
Okay. All right, let's go back to the phones from Enugu. We have Ifeanyi Chukwu calling in. Hello.
Hello, good evening, gentlemen, everybody.
Yes, good evening.
And good evening, madam. I just want to, this opportunity want to commend Mr. President on his move and how he has been trying to keep the country going. I want to comment on the security issue. I want to go specifically to the crisis between the herdsmen and the farmers. Yes, the president has been doing a lot to curtail too many things in the country. But just like my legislators there, just like what one of them said before, one major thing that contributes to all this crisis in this country is poverty. I want to tell all of you there that virtually every Nigerian, 85 to 90% of Nigerians are poor and angry. And when somebody is hungry, the person is angry. Just let me use myself as an example. As a young youth, as of 25, 30 years ago, when we used to go down to our village to associate, because as particular as I'm talking to you, we from the South, please. On my own side, we are not looking for the division of the country, neither, or are we interested in putting away the Fulanis or the herdsmen? No, we have been associating with these people for a very long time, I must tell you. Let the nation hear, let the Nigerians, let every Nigerian hear this. We've been part of Fulani. When I was small, we used to travel from the urban area to the rural area to farm with our grandfathers. We used to meet these herdsmen, we associate with them, we play with them. It is a very surprising thing to me that as this time around, that herdsmen, there are things happening like this, that crisis and some other things we attribute to herdsmen. These were peaceful people. But I want to tell you one thing, sir, all of you there. Herdsmen then never go around with machine gun. That is the type of gun they carry around right now. What I witnessed when I was small, when we used to interact with them, play with them, even at the farm. They come close to you, ask you for water, you play with them, they kill some rabbits, they give to you. We from the southeast, we play with them, we farm, all this is. With their women, they go around, even then, they don't go with all these guns, all this, what is it called? Or AK-47 or pump action, they go around with. And nobody molests them from the southeast. But it is a surprising thing right now that this thing is happening. I want the president to ask why. There is a lot of proliferation of guns. They use this gun right now here in southeast for robbery. As I'm talking to you now, few days ago, they discovered women in the farm, discovered herdsmen hiding almost 36 AK-47. If those women were not in the farm, look, when they ran out with the bike to dodge those things right there. I'm talking to you from Enugu, from information already. This is not just a main information like we hear on the media or anything. And you get people here get scared. Is it not the herdsmen we're talking about? Please, for you people there, if people want us to have peace in this country, please, I want to refer this to my legislator there. They know the best for us. Let there be legislative action. There's look here, there's nobody looking for the division here because Fulanis have been good with us. We live peaceful. The cattle railers, they have been going around. Even then, I want to tell you then, they don't go into someone's farm. They don't destroy anybody's farm. But right now, nobody in my village goes to farm. Nobody in Enugu goes to, even there's no woman that goes to farm alone. Everybody's afraid. Nobody, they rape, they do too many things. And you know why? What is the cause of this thing? My brothers there at the north, especially my legislator there, if you can look, if you can imagine that there's no any Igbo man at north that doesn't live within your vicinity. we are interested in accommodating the Fulanis. If they want to live with us happily and harmoniously, they can raid their cattle around us, but let them come and live within our vicinity. Let them live. So there's an Igbo adage that says, whoever that lives with you is your neighbor and is your friend. There's no way you can want to harm you. If they live with us, let the government make these people to live with it. Why? If anybody who is living in the bush is a criminal, it's an animal, and is a threat. Is a threat to everybody.
All right.
So that is why the people are here in the southeast. They can live with us. We are ready to accommodate them.
Okay.
Let them come and live with us. I want to tell you, even when there is voting, these people don't come out to vote. Let me give you a very good instance. If you have gone to Enugu, at a popular Ugwanyama here, that's where they live. Most of them, they come out there to rob. Please, let them come and live within our vicinity.
Okay, Ifeanyi Chukwu, you've made your point, and we'll have to go on. Thank you very much for calling in. Yes,
please, just in the matter of it, since he's speaking from Enugu, I think, yes, the herdsmen are there, but I believe local communities will also need to look inward to find the origin of some aspects of the crisis they're dealing with. Because there are reports of heads of autonomous communities who, on account of their personal relationship with some of the headers, are actually partly responsible for what's going on. You know, you have somebody, a community that ordinarily really wouldn't have such a title. You call somebody, you give him a title, and he can't quite do very well 3 times a day by way of a meal. And I come, I give him a cow, I maintain a relationship with him, I become incapable. He becomes incapable of intervening in these matters. That's an aspect of it that ought to be looked into. So that cohesion of the local communities, first of all, be confirmed before you move outside. There are cases of complicity by heads of the local communities. You know.
Okay. Returning to the economy, Max.
We can't pretend. The senator was quite apt. The only good thing I think Olusegun Obasanjo established was excess crude money. That's savings. He really put us in this trouble because during his term of office, this country made so much money. Had he been able to settle the issue of the power sector, then the private industries would have taken over. That is all I can say about Obasanjo. But we can't cry over spilled milk. There is no synergy between National Planning Commission and the State Planning Commission. So the National Planning Commission comes up with a noble plan on how to move a nation forward. A state executive governor will say, well, this is my own plan for my state. This is my own plan for my local government. So there is disjointness, and money is wasted. There was a time we had Ministry of Establishment in the nation that came into university and would say, we need 400 engineers to be graduated in the next 4 years because we're going to have vacancy in various engineering positions in the country then. So what are we going to do today? The Chinese opportunity gives us an opportunity to say to China, don't bring the goods to Nigeria. We want to manufacture the goods in Nigeria. Give us the line of credit we're asking for. Or come in for the 6 billion you're giving to us, invest 1-2 billion in the power sector. National grid was a conception of the military, so that when they strike for coup, they put us all in darkness. We must decentralize the power sector and regionalize it in order to encourage more efficiency in the production of industries. We must look at agriculture as an industry that must have off-takers. What am I trying to say? Katsina today had investment forum. Enugu had theirs some time ago. Ogun State is having its own. No particular state can do it alone. We can begin to regionalize our economic partnership. And then when you look at India, and you see that India consumes $10 billion worth of palm oil a year, and China does about 20 billion in palm oil a year, and all of them are coming from Malaysia, you ought to say that we must tap into this lucrative market. Then federal government will now come in and say, we are going to partner with states that are willing to be giving grants to develop palm oil corridors so that we can begin to sell same to India and to China. We may not be able to compete with Malaysia now, they have jumped us. Then beans our beans can compete with the best beans in the world. So why is Nigerian beans not being marketed by Goya, the largest distributors of beans in the world? It's when you bring Goya to Nigeria and say, come and have your reserve in Nigeria. We are going to partner with you. There are off-takers. 80% of the onions from Kebbi State and Sokoto State goes to waste. Nobody eats pizza in America without powdered onions. So why can't Italian firms come in to Kebbi State and Sokoto and set up shredding plant, drying plant to dry these wasted onions and grind them into powder form for export? So it brings us back to the issue of ranching. When you have a ranch, it becomes part of economic security. In that ranch, you know the quantity of milk that you're producing for pig milk and for carnation. You know the quantity of hides and skin that you're producing for export. Then you know that the cow dung become organic fertilizer that can be used to create orchards within the particular ranch. You plant mangoes, pineapples, pawpaw, oranges, and that is value-added chain to economic trees. So we need to sit back again and sectorize our economy. And the president should have advisors based on each sector so that we can take off. We are disappointing the international community. And our population keeps growing, keeps growing. So we need to look at these things holistically and not look at it from each state saying, oh, we are having an economic summit and you can't even pay salaries of your workers. So what is the essence of that?
All right. Okay, back to the phones now. Isa is calling in from Port Harcourt. Is Isa still on the line? No, all right. So still staying with the economy.
The economy, like everyone has said, it's a disappointment so far. The expectations is so much well and high. But we need to come back to the basis. We need to re-strategize. We need to look at what we have and how can we improve what we have. We need to create the enable environment for young people. A lot of us are out there. That's why we are prone to joining Boko Haram, the militants, because we don't have nothing to do to contribute to the economy. The GDP will not grow when you don't have this patch or you don't have those small contributions to it. So we need to look inwards, like other speakers have said. We need to diversify from looking at just the oil sector. We need to come to agriculture, like he's trying to say. A lot of value chain is going on, which we're not utilizing. Take soybeans, for instance. You have a lot of produce from soybeans. But what do we do in Nigeria? We don't even have the soya milk. We always bring them to buy at 150, 200 per just a glass. For how long do we want to continue this way? We have women in the rural communities doing nothing. All we have is just the small farms. Can you mechanize this farm? Can you make us improve on what we're doing to a standard that we can all utilize it? Can we all get busy and contribute our own quotas to this development? I think the economy seriously needs to be looked at in a different dimension. Give us the enabling environment. Make power available. They don't have to go to China. A bad person don't have to go to China to go and produce the shoe and bring it and customize it in that way. No. Give us here. We have the population and we have the might and we are creative. So we could make out a lot from all this. We don't need to go out. We need to look inwards, like they've said, and then see how we can utilize it. Because the world is changing. We can't continue to depend, and that's why the dollar, we're not proud of it. We are going to China to say, okay, come, let's see how it is. Of course, we're a growing economy. We need to develop what we have inwards. When you're strong inwards, you'll be able to present what you have, and then you have a bargaining power, and people would respect you. But when you don't even utilize what you have, I don't know why we're going to beg and look for respect outside. But when we encourage ourselves, the Abakaleke rice, polish it, let's enjoy it. Let's have the Ofada rice, let's enjoy what we have. We don't need to, the motto, what's his name again? Innocence mottos, of course. And looking at the budget, I come to that. We don't even need this vehicle, project vehicles anymore. Because looking at more of the budget giving works power, more of it, infrastructure. Of course, in that budget, you will see new vehicle projects, new vehicles for the project sites, new this, new that. What happened to the ones that we have? It's been converted to a personal thing. So can we utilize this thing, reduce cost of governance, reduce unnecessary things that we purchase outside, so that we can have at least our economy grow to an extent that we'll all be proud and want to identify with.
Okay.
Cyril, it is scandalous that 16 years of democracy, no new refineries have been built. And even the so-called Niger Delta governors or South-South governors who had tremendous money couldn't even articulate green refinery in their area to create jobs for their sons. Nigeria should be able to have multiple refineries. There are many people holding licenses for refinery. And what happened to them? So if this government can get it right, then we are positioning ourselves for greatness. Otherwise, it is perdition.
All right, back to the phones. Timmy calling in from Abuja. Hello, go ahead. Timmy from Abuja, go ahead.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Yes, go ahead.
Hello, yeah, good evening. This is Timmy. I'm calling from Abuja.
Go on.
Yeah, by way of observation, I noticed that the people you have here are people who, a majority of them are people who are apologists of the past administration, and they are in no way going to give a correct assessment of what's going on today in the country. Now, my contribution, when this government came, it talked about 3 areas where it's going to, focus its attention. One was the issue of corruption, insurgency issue, and diversification. And I think if we want to be sincere to ourselves, this administration has done very well in these 3 areas. I mean, there's no doubt the country has been battered. We've had 16 years of nothing happening in this country. We have, we've had the best of times when, the crude oil price was at its best in the last 15 years. And we have nothing to show for it. Now, this man has come, the president has come, and he's come with this change mantra. Whether we like it or not, things have changed for the better. This is the fact. The people you have on your panel there, most of them are apologists of the past administration. They are not doing justice to this administration. And that is the fact. If you want to look at the 3 areas I've just talked about, we talked about insurgency, we've done very well. If you talk about corruption, the government has done very well. And for the first time in so many years, we are talking about diversification. This is the crux of the matter. Even if this is the only area where this government has done something, this is something for us to share about. Because for the first time, we're talking about made in Nigerian goods. For the first time, we're talking about things to be done in this country and to be consumed by this country. So please, next time, NTA, if you're bringing people, bring a very, a panel that will have, a fair representation of what ought to be, not what we have today. What we have today is not a fair representation. They are not talking sincerely. Just 1 or 2 people there are talking objectively. The other people people there have always been apologists of the past administration, and this is a fact. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you very much, Timmy. Just to quickly mention that you are entitled to your opinion, just as the guests we have invited to this program are entitled to their opinion, and that's what makes this program is interactive. And that's why you have the opportunity to call in and get your own views across like you have just done. And the views of our guests here, their views are entirely their views, and you have the opportunity, you have just made yours, and that's the beauty of this program. So thank you for calling in. Thank you. Right.
Yeah. Actually, I just wanted to say, really, honestly, the problem of, you know, what my brother was talking about, the dollar and so on. Look, oil today, it's $40. The amount of money we are making as a nation cannot sustain his appetite, my appetite, for foreign exchange, which means now his child and my child will probably have to go to school here. Simple, that's the truth. Difference between truth and reality. And then, look, he was also talking about live examples. Kebbi State, Kebbi is a live example of what this government is doing. 1 million metric tons of rice will be produced in Kebbi this year. We consume about 6 million metric tons in this country. So if we can get same in Nasarawa, which means 2 million, probably in Abakaliki, if we can get another 1 million. You know, these kind of things. So, you know, that's how the government is trying to diversify to agriculture, so that me and myself and my friend can go and buy dollars at probably $120 to $1. Exactly. You know, but honestly, on a serious note, for now, the money is simply not there. And the governments of 16 years, the government that we had for the last 16 years, did not save. Probably there's a problem with our constitution as well. These states that we're talking about, there's nothing you can do about them. If states like Israel, which is not as big as Katsina, if they can have their own army, pay for everything, why can't these states also run their economies? I don't think there's any problem with that as well. So the states can also run their economies in tandem with that of federal government.
Right. I'm a little concerned when matters, you know, if you're in a fix, they say when the Americans will tell you, if you find yourself in a hole, stop digging. If you're in a fix, tell the truth. You know, government communication could have taken away more than 80% of what's going on at the moment. Level with the people. Now on this panel, we are hearing about KB, we are hearing about Nasarawa and the rest of it. And the other time, tangentially, we heard about grass being imported. Communication must be articulated with emphasis on positive human impact. All these gestural things you hear sometimes with annoyance. Oh, we're doing a lot of things and people are not appreciating it.
They don't know.
And then sometimes the way to communicate it is you take advert in the newspaper. Who among us here will sit down to read a full page of advert because it carries a ministry on top of it? So that's the matter of strategic communication. Then also, like the last caller, you know, who brought in what the government is doing, diversification, that we're hearing about it for the first time, and what again? You see, that's the kind of thing that undermines an active government. If she had limited himself or herself to corruption, which was valid, and then perhaps pointed out a new dimension. Look, we've been talking diversification, but in this government, this has been done, which wasn't being done. These will be the pluses. Communication should not be instinctive because you're angry, because you feel the need to say something. You must target the mileage you hope to achieve with it. And I think that's part of the crisis. Look at a regime, 1 year is coming to an end, and probably we are waiting for some broadcast from the president. Whereas the space, the media space should have been overrun in detail, sectorally, for the last 2 months.
Well, let's well, since this is linked with what we're talking about, the economy, let's talk about the anti-corruption war and what's been done to stem the huge, you know, demon that we've come to identify as corruption, which so many analysts have said is about the cause of most of the problems that we have. How has this administration fared?
To be honest, corruption has never been fought in this country ever, like now. Never ever before like now, which is the truth. But the thing is, as the other man who has said earlier, let it be holistic. As you are hitting this one, hit that one. As you're hitting that one, hit that one. Of course, whether we like it or not, those who are in the APC, PDP, they've all been in government in the last 16 years. They've all been in government in the last 16 years. Sure. Most of them at the state level. And the critical problem we have in this country today are at the state level. Because they are the all and the mighties. They are all in the states. The critical issue we have at the center, in most cases, are the top civil servants. There are those who are always trying to make sure that they take whatever memo that comes, they turn it upside down, they read it inside out to make sure they see a way out. And that's why we find ourselves today. But till now, because the EFCC has not started going through the ministries, we've not started seeing them coming out, but they'll definitely come out from the civil service angle. But at the same time, there is the need to intensify this campaign of the EFCC in most of the states. Because right now, I'm sure most of the governors will be careful. They'll not do as the previous governors because they've seen what's happening. Most of them they've burned their fingers severely. But the most important thing is they need to go and do it thoroughly, including the local governments.
Okay. Yeah, my take on this, when we talk about a holistic look at these problems, I mean, if as a nation, when PDP was in government, if we, those that are not in PDP, were complaining that, look, PDP were only persecuting those that were not in PDP, now PDP are not there. And which means all the governors that were there, at one time, now we have about 6 or 7 governors in the Senate. Let the FCC go after them.
More than 7.
Absolutely. So what I'm saying, look, if you still today, because you have immunity, someday, one day, 8 years will lapse. And somebody will go after you. So to me, honestly, it does not matter whether in APC or in PDP, if you steal, you steal.
That's right.
And that you should be go after. And if nothing is done to you today, someday, one day, your party, look, we're in politics. APC will not live forever, will not rule forever, even though my friend was saying 4 years, I think it's just 4 years, first instance. All right.
Well, for me, 3 things. Number 1, corruption is distortion of values. That's it. So enforcement of a culture of rule keeping is the first step towards fighting corruption, so that we don't focus on only mismanagement of public resources. So that, enforcement of rule keeping. Then in the matter of also the focus, that's why you can say yes. The question, there's an issue here. When you say they're going after only PDP people, are you suggesting you have solid evidence which they are not using to pursue others? Or are you now giving the impression that actually it's only the ones they're going after that are corrupt? So those who are arguing this have to be careful about what point they are making. Now, finally, the context within which the president is trying to fight corruption. I've had to say this more than once. Cyril, you're familiar with it. Max here is made a minister. This is May 10, 11 now. And then 3 months later, he's still driving his car. His uncles, his cousins, members of his community, his pastor, or his imam. Max, what is it? Is it not the same minister that Cyril was that you are now? Are you not in the same Abuja? And then an uncle will say, how could we be so unlucky? All right. And we thought there was hope in this boy. Now, what's the point? He also gets run down by everybody. But another person is a minister. In 3 months, he has a new set of cars. He's built a mansion. He's donated a lot more money in the church. He comes for Thanksgiving. Make sure he comes late so that he's noticed. And everybody is celebrating and he gets the chieftaincy title. Now, that's the context within which President Buhari is fighting corruption. And that's why I think that the political economy of corruption is much stronger than the instruments with which he's fighting it. So let the focus not be limited. Let them not just start celebrating, we've caught this man, with all those around him are angry and consider him unlucky.
Max, quickly.
With an exception, the Office of National Security Advisor must be preserved.
Right.
It is an office. It must be given the decorum that it requires. It's not for public ridicule, no matter which party is in power or who is there. There is no National Security Advisor that will go contrary to his boss's orders, including the current NSA. But having said that, EFCC have found a new dimension to be quite mischievous. You investigate a Senate president, you have facts against the Senate president. Instead of prosecuting him, you take your facts and give to CCB to prosecute him. There is no law that established jointness in this case.
Okay.
Wait a minute.
These are the
Now,
technicalities which we don't have
wait a
time
minute.
to go into now.
Fighting
because we're winding
corruption
down.
is not about
Right.
making noise. The president himself does not even have to say you must fight corruption.
Okay.
When a body is established, you do your constitutional job. Today we're a laughing stock in Britain when the British Prime Minister opened his lousy mouth to say to the Queen that our president, forgive me, that our president.
I'm not sure you can use such language.
Forgive me, audience. But the Prime Minister of Britain, the Prime Minister of Britain telling the Queen that two presidents from the most corrupt nations are coming to the anti-corruption thing.
All right.
It shouldn't be that way.
Corruption, for me, I feel it's not just starting at getting you to come to answer. It starts from us, the younger generation. You need to tell us to do the right thing, to be accountable at every time, at any moment. We need to be accountable at every level, from the house, from the homes to the civil service. You need to say, yes, I purchased this and this is the receipt. We need to have this accountability imbibed in us for us to avoid what we're seeing now.
All right. So there's so much to talk about this first year of the Buhari administration, and no one program can successfully go through all of it. And so it's a continuous process, and we'll keep on assessing what's been done in the last 1 year and the way forward. But we will have to leave it here this time around, and next time we'll continue and look at other sectors of this administration in the past 1 year. Now I would like to thank our guests who have been here. Senator Ahmed Abdul Qadir, would like to thank you for sharing your thoughts with us here.
Thank you so much.
Honorable Farouk Adamu Aliyu, thank you. And Dr. Oke Ikechukwu, it's always a delight to have you join us on this discussion. So same thing, Max Banite, thank you for being here. And of course, Dr. Erisa.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And also to all of you who took part in this program, I'd like to thank you. Next week, we'll reach you again on NTA Tuesday Live. I'm Cyril Stover. Bye for now.